That awkward moment. Huh?
Is it bright?
A little bit. Hi.
Hello.
I'm going to drink some of your water. How's it going, everyone? So Emily and I are really excited. I asked Emily to join because I'm about to go live with an incredible woman, Dr. Shefali, and she has a new book out called A Radical Awakening. And I know that we've been going live and talking a lot about man enough, but today we'll take a break from man enough to talk about being woman enough, really, with Dr. Shefali's book. And by the way, I think you're gonna get really hot. Are you hot yet? She is hot. She's super hot.
The sun is setting, so it's gonna get cooler and cooler. I got nothing under here, so
all right. Here we go. Here's the doctor. By the way, they said they like our joint ponytails. We have matching hair.
I started it. Is it?
Hi, guys.
Hey!
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh man, it's so good to meet you via video.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be fun for Emily to join because she is on this relentless journey to her own radical awakening.
Yeah.
And
so thank you for letting me hijack this and just listen in.
I'm so excited.
So for anybody just tuning in, the book is A Radical Awakening. We're not talking about man enough today. We'll talk about it next week. And we're talking about really being woman enough in many ways.
Yeah. So I wrote this book because as a clinical psychologist, just working with woman after woman, and even in my own journey, just never feeling like the ceiling could be broken, and how our self-worth has been corrupted, interrupted, disrupted since childhood. And the toxic patriarchy has kind of just managed to suppress us. And the funniest thing is, this book is out, and the only negative pushback I get is from males. I mean, it's fascinating.
Oh, it's okay. Me too.
I feel so bad, but it's not every man. It's the unconsciousness of this patriarchy that doesn't want to be toppled and is nervous with radical books like yours and mine.
I find so interesting. What I love, I've actually started listening to the audiobook because I'm a big audiobook person. And you do a fantastic job, by the way. That's a very hard thing to do. It took me a long time.
Yeah. Are you reading it yourself?
Oh my
Oh
goodness.
yeah.
It's 15 hours of audio, so it takes like 7 days or something. Yeah.
How many days did it take you?
It took me 8 or 9.
You really struggled with it.
It's exhausting.
I did.
It's really good.
But I just love how you also set up the book. And I was thinking a lot about Emily, because as her husband, I've been watching her shed a lot of the things that you talk about in the book. And you really are talking to women when you write this book. And I have a lot of female followers and audience members, and so I think it's the perfect place to talk about this, because I also think that as a man we should be reading books for women. I think that's also really important to help us understand our partners more if we're in heterosexual relationships. But the way you set up the book, I just found kind of fascinating, because you prepare them, and I did a similar thing, but you prepare them for how triggered and uncomfortable they're going to be.
Ooh.
And I think that's really important, because I talk a lot about getting comfortable in the uncomfortable, and that cold plunge. I'm sitting in that ice cold water and not wanting to get out, or wanting to get out but not getting out, and knowing that bliss is on the other side. And you really do that a lot in your book. Can you walk us through a little bit about what people should expect, women, or if they choose to, men should expect when they read your book, and why they'll be triggered and why that's a good thing?
So all the books I write have been triggering to people. So in my first 4 books, the first 3 specifically on conscious parenting, I changed the parenting paradigm by just turning it on its head, that we are not here to raise our children when we haven't raised ourselves. So our childhood baggage kind of follows us. So this book, A Radical Awakening, is written as a journey, and I take people on this journey. And the first part is how we've been asleep in the matrix. So that is extremely triggering to people because they're like, I'm not asleep, I'm super conscious. But the fact is that most of us are so asleep, we're almost in a zombie-like state, and we don't know it because we wear our beliefs like skin. And we cannot believe that the beliefs we have are mostly lies. So it's extremely touchy and sensitive when you begin to wake up to the realization, wow, my culture has lied to me, my parents have told me things that are not necessarily true. So I talk about how we've all been seduced in the matrix, in this culture, the cultural bubble, drug induced, and we don't realize we're in a drug induced den. So that is triggering for people. So I'm very gentle with people. I think they still think I'm not gentle, but and then I go on to how we have to confront our shadow. If we really want to begin to disrupt our patterns, we have to look at what's in the backstory, what's in the back end, what's deep down. And we have to kind of excavate that and stare at ourselves brutally, honestly, transparently in the mirror and see how our childhood has set us up for these robotic patterns. The people we marry, the foods we eat, the way we talk to ourselves in our head, these are programmed into us. And we think that it's just who we are. We don't realize it's our program, right? So a lot of my work with my clients is to make them realize these are not your thoughts. These are conditionings. And it takes them so long to understand that they have a choice to change their patterns, right? And then I talk a lot about female sexuality and how we've been disconnected from our vaginas and how we need to reclaim our power and stop giving our power away to men. And
let's talk about that. Let's talk about sex.
Talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
Wait, let me finish in an OCD way the whole book. Then after the reclamation of the vagina, then I go into how do you crack the matrix, and I talk about busting our ideas about love, marriage, divorce, beauty, youth, niceness. We girls have been trained to be so nice. So I kill that. And I replace
Kill it. Slay it.
Slave, yeah, decimated, murder it. We replace the idea of niceness with authenticity. Quit being good, stop being nice because you're lying. Are you authentic? And then the final chapter, the final part is called Awakening, which is about really embracing the egoless way of living and embracing your essence. So that's kind of how the book is laid out. We're talking about a radical awakening, guys.
Oh
so
that is so amazing.
It's been out for a week now.
Yes.
Again, pick it up. It's called Radical Awakening. Dr. Shefali is incredible, and it's so funny just hearing you talk. First of all, I talk about the Matrix at the beginning of my book as well. I talk about how I'm stuck in it, and so I think we're going to be best friends. So that's a side note. But I want to know. Can we talk about what go ahead.
Sexuality, embracing female sexuality.
The sexuality.
You said something. No, please ask.
No, what I was going to say, something that I've noticed on my own journey of shedding a lot of ideas and beliefs and behaviors and even identities that I've created. It can be a scary journey because I've had moments of wondering what's left. What's going to be left? And then I tap into that and it feels incredibly powerful, which is also scary as hell. And I feel like that kind of links in with even with the sexuality. It's like we've been taught to kind of put it inside a box, and that's not where sexuality or creativity or life should exist at all. But when it breaks out of that box, it can just feel so powerful. And I don't know. I think that's where I am personally. It can be a really scary place. I don't know if I'm sure you talk about it in your book.
It's almost like you've been, I'm witnessing my wife go through her own radical awakening. And I love that you call it radical awakening. And I also love how you talk about how awakening is, you know, if you think about the awakening, it's not a gentle thing. Like getting out of the matrix is not fun,
No.
right? It's not a fun process. But
It's only because we're riddled with fear, you know, because we have so many attachments in the matrix. Even if it's totally effed up, we're attached to it, you know?
Absolutely.
So when you say you're scared, it's only because it's the unknown, right? Like you were saying, the cold water, you're plunging in the unknown. And this is how we've been conditioned is you got to put it in a box. You have to have the prescription list. You got to know where you're going. But true spiritual warriorship has no destination, is completely in the moment, and trusts the impermanence of that kind of moment by moment existence. But it's very anti-Western, you know, very anti-masculine. It's very scary for people to embrace that. But what you also said is that it's so liberating, and you feel almost bad saying it, because what you're really experiencing is a final untethering from other people's unconsciousness. You're no longer betrothed to their level of unconsciousness. You're free. And we all have the destiny to be free, but we've tethered ourselves thinking that that is true connection, but it isn't. It's true attachment out of fear. So we all put each other into boxes, you know, our sexuality, marriage, the idea of beauty, the idea of eternal youth. We have caged ourselves, and women do it to themselves now.
Oh yeah.
Right? You know how you talk to yourself when looking in the mirror.
Oh my gosh.
We are relentless.
It's just that incessant chatter. I think he writes about it in The Untethered Soul, about how your ego is like this, I'm going to butcher it now, but it's just like this weird guest that just kind of invited himself, and he's sleeping on your couch, and he has an opinion about everything that you're doing, and he wants to label everything that you're doing. It's just constant advice and chatter and just the noise of the ego and the mind. That can also be a little terrifying to realize that that's the constant thing that is running in the background.
Yeah, but we've inherited this. You know, culture has told us how to be the perfect woman, but now we oppress ourselves. You know, we are our worst critics, and we compete with each other, and we dim our light. And the only way we can really heal the planet is through the rising of the awakened male and the awakened female. But really, we females, we women have to take charge, because we are the connectors. We are the tribe builders. We are the mothers. So the onus is on the oppressed always to rise up. You know, we can't wait for the ones in privilege to give us permission, you know.
How does someone, besides getting your book, start to go through that process? Because I've watched Emily do it, but the process of inner work, and that inner work leading to that awakening. What's that look like?
I don't know what you've experienced, but typically as a therapist, people only really start jolting into awareness when they hit a rock bottom. Like I can already tell when a client comes, oh, they're not ready yet. They're talking, they say, I want to change, but change involves a death. So I say real change means you're going to have to die onto an old part of you. And they're like, really? I just thought the other people could change. So true transformation requires a releasing of the old. And we don't want to do that because we're deeply attached to the old. So we want all the jewels of the new, but we can't let go of the old. And this is why most people languish, they're apathetic, they're complacent, and they're stuck. Is because we don't realize that in order to pivot to the new, the trade-off for the delicious prize of the newfound freedom, like Emily said, is the terrifying loss of the old attachments. We can't have it both ways. And true spiritual growth is understanding that I have to leave the shell. I have to let go. You know, the chicken breaks out. She lets go of that egoic shell and dissolves it, crushes it, and she births. In the same way, we have to let go of our egoic masks in order to birth. But we're scared to. And culture has told women especially, like literally the only negative critic on my Amazon reviews, sorry to say, was a guy who called this book narcissistic. Women have been told, We are narcissistic for
Oh.
putting ourselves first. I mean, this is the message we get, no, Emily? That we
It's
are.
okay. The same guy probably commented on mine too.
No, oh,
Because it threatens.
selfish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
selfish, not a good woman. How could you be a, family wrecker? So we immediately get so guilty and feel so ashamed because
Yep.
we have not been encouraged to put ourselves first. And males have been encouraged. They're like, it's okay, be loud, be brash, take your time, lie down on the sofa all day. But we are guilted. And now this book is boldly emblazoning the consciousness of women to wake up. And there's so much pushback.
Yeah, because the idea, I mean, I'm just going to tie this back to masculinity for a second.
Yeah.
And the illusion that it is. But I was chatting, we're friends with Esther. I'm sure you're friends with Esther Perel as well. And she's an incredible person. And we had a chat about this, and masculinity is so fragile that it can be taken away. But femininity can't. You can't take someone's femininity away. I can't take that away from my wife. But the idea of masculinity is that she can take it from me and I can be somehow emasculated. Almost as if we as men are so fearful of the radical awakening of women that we consciously repress them. And I say consciously, like the guy, we consciously repress you because God forbid you were to wake up from your slumber or the matrix, you would recognize that this world doesn't serve you, and I'm not serving you, I'm serving me. But I believe that a radically awoken man, or a man who's man enough, wants I'm not saying this is a possessive, but like woman, to wake up, because it's in your waking up that you help me wake up.
But
our liberations are tied together.
Right, but you are way in the minority, Justin, and
Yes, I can assure you of that by my book sales to the male demographic. But moving on.
And like you said, I mean, it's not only like men doing this. We are doing this to ourselves. We are holding ourselves back because we don't know any other way.
Right.
You talk about this a lot. Last night we had a conversation, and what you just said about going through a death or hitting rock bottom hits home, because this might sound strange, but we feel the most comfortable around people who have been through the program, been through a form of
like a
12-step program, like no matter what it is, some form of recovering addict. And because those people truly know themselves, because they've had to face themselves, they've had to kill off that part that they were numbing, and you go through this program, which is really a spiritual enlightenment program, I think, and you recognize that you can't do it yourself. And so last night we had this conversation about like our friends who have hit rock bottom. Our friends, those are the ones that we connect with in the deepest way.
Absolutely. And people think in the, the arrogance of this kind of toxic masculine ideology that it's a one-man show. And it's only through interdependence and community, which we women are so amazing at building, that we can uplift and elevate each other. And you have to go through a quest, either the 12-step or intense work or this book, your book, to open up our inner enlightenment to the understanding that we have been our greatest oppressors. All our suffering is now because we have subscribed. We pay a daily subscription to the toxicity, and we don't realize we're paying our daily subscription. So this book is challenging women, especially, who complain a lot about being in the patriarchy. But I'm showing women all the ways that they co-perpetuated and co-created in their own mental suffering. And until we really awaken to how am I co-creating my own inner oppression, there's no man around, I'm doing it to myself. I will not be able to shatter the ceiling, and I will not be able to awaken and embolden myself to check the toxic masculinity. Just like this toxic masculinity, I talk about toxic femininity in my book, where because we're trying to be so nice, we have no voice now. We've divorced our inner knowing, our wisdom. We don't contribute. We're so scared. We're muted. So that's the toxic feminine part of us that needs to be integrated. And the toxic masculinity needs to be checked to come to this healthy, integrated approach where both sexes are able to be on both sides of masculine and feminine without shame.
I get a lot of men who reach out to me, and I've been talking a little bit about this, but I don't feel like it's my place to talk about this, especially in interviews. And I actually left this part out of the book because I think it's for when Emily's ready to talk about it. But the idea, you know, that Bell Hooks writes about in A Will to Change, even about the internal misogyny that women face, right? As and what you're calling the toxic feminine. Because men write me, hey, Justin, I did it. I was vulnerable. I cried. And she like responded terribly. She made me feel less than. She made me feel like there was something wrong with me. Like I needed to man up. And you hear this a lot. Glennon Doyle writes about this in Untamed. This thing where even, and we forget that women are also byproducts and have been socialized to need to view men as strong. Right. And so there's something that about a vulnerable man that seems to trigger some women or many women. Also, even though in their minds they want it. What is that?
Right. Well, I think we are, so we've absorbed this toxic masculine ideology that males are supposed to be holding the power and we are allowed to be weak. So on one level, we want our males, our men to understand us, to be in the heart. But if they show too much vulnerability, now it scares us because we feel like that is a threatening place, right? And they're going to crumble. As a global culture, ubiquitously, feelings, real feelings, true vulnerability has always been denigrated. So we women say we want our males to be vulnerable, but we can't hold space for that either. And we can't hold space for ourselves either. We don't know how to have direct expression of feelings. We're scared. So we are globally afraid of truth, of authenticity. We're wearing masks. And it's time for your book and mine. I mean, they came out so well and close together to help people to awaken.
It's we're talking about Dr. Shefali's book, Radical Awakening. Please go pick it up. It's if you picked up Man Enough, since we're on my channel here, I would encourage you to read this with it. I have a feeling, considering most of you are women that are watching this. Let's be honest. Man Enough's going to help you understand your men. This is going to help you understand yourself.
I love it.
So can you just talk to us a little bit? You talk about the pill that kills, right? And by the way, The Matrix is one of my favorite movies, so I can talk about The Matrix all day long.
That's true.
By the way, one of my favorite things recently is, when you see all these men talking about, red pill and all of this stuff, and it's now becoming this movement in this alt men's movement. But what they fail to recognize is, I don't know if you know this, but The Matrix was really written to be analogous to the trans experience.
I didn't know that.
Characters transitioned afterwards.
Wow.
So anyways, I always kind of find that ironic when men are using it about like being alpha and like
right.
You don't even know you're talking about this was a trans person who came up with this.
Right.
But what's the pill that kills?
So the fundamental pill that kills us all, I think at the core, male or female, alpha or not, is unworthiness. We all are living with this lie that we have believed that we are essentially unworthy. So even though this current dimension seems to be ruled by powerful, white men, just to speak stereotypically, it's an unworthy occupation. And how do we know it's unworthy? Because we're not taking care of everyone below that top pedestal. We're not taking care of the earth. We're not taking care of our children, the women, the people of color. So it is such a toxic hierarchy right now. But it is ruled by unworthiness. If we were not unworthy, the opposite of the antidote of unworthiness is interconnection, not codependence, not independence, and interdependence. When we are in worthiness, when we are connected to our inner self, we understand that we cannot exist without each other. There is a healthy appreciation that you are me and I am you. And that's how the planet begins to heal. So unless this toxic hierarchy topples and gets exposed for its true unworthiness, it looks like it's really fancy because now we're going to Mars. We've destroyed the Amazon. We've destroyed the oceans. It looks like it's world domination. Like, look how amazing we are. We've dominated the world. But that's toxically masculine, right? That domination is toxic. Interdependence. And why did I write this book for women specifically is because we live with the code of interdependence, just by our bodies, one becoming two, becoming one with birth. We understand inextricable interdependence. We give our bodies, we share our bodies for those who are biological mothers. So males don't get this oxytocin hormonal understanding on a physiological level that we have it, sorry, we got it. But we have been marauded by culture to forget it. So we need to awaken back to what our bodies naturally can do. And when we capitalize on it, that's why the mother energy is a powerful energy. When the woman becomes a mother, she's like, don't fuck with my children, right? So because now she sees, I am a creator, I'm a co-creator, I'm part of the earth. So we women need to enter our renaissance and remember who we are. It is not a world that will survive with toxic masculinity. We women need to make that change.
Wow.
It's really all the work you're doing.
Yes, which is why I'm kind of speechless, because it's like I'm so in it, and I love it so much. I specifically love what you said early on, that it's a radical awakening on all sides that is really going to heal all the ailments that we're dealing with now. That's what's going to save us. And we talk about that a lot too, that, it's great to be an activist for different issues, but the most important kind of activism, did we lose?
No, she's
okay.
Yeah.
The most important type of activism is self-work, is that radical awakening that you're writing about.
Yeah.
Because then we become that authentic being that you're talking about. And we know what integrity is. We know what true power it is. We know what truth is. And from that place, I mean, just imagine the decisions that we can make, the choices that are before us, and the way that we treat each other and ourselves and honor everything. It's just, it's just been on our minds a lot. That's true activism.
Well, activism without the radical awakening.
I mean, it can only go so far.
It's like performative wokeness.
Or it's performative, yeah.
It won't last, and it will lead to resentment and abuse and violence and separation. When you radically awaken, like you said, Emily, you're so connected to your own worth that you honor the sovereign worth of everyone around you. Back off, because your ego dissolves. As you radically awaken, like you said, your identities to false things dissolves, and then your true essence comes out, and now you can't destroy the essence of others. So all ideas of separation, of casteism, classism, racism, sexism, all the isms kind of fade because you've disintegrated all the inner schisms. You're one with yourself, you're one with the others. You have no thorns anymore because you've healed those. So this book, because I'm a therapist, I was able to really use my experience, but I also share a lot of my own story, which was vulnerable making. And Justin, you've been doing that too. And it's only when you allow your own story to emerge that you give permission to others, right? Well, and there is no shame, there is no shade, there is no ego about it. And that's the radical awakening.
Well, even in that beginning of your first chapter, you talk about you almost hitting that tree, being so exhausted from being a new mother. And you haven't read the book yet, but she almost runs into this tree, and that kind of, you wake up right before it because the car stops. And I just found that it's fascinating and so important because, again, you're giving permission to women who are feeling the exact same things but feel like they can't talk about it. Can you just quickly talk about that, the fear, blame, shame cycle? Because I think that relates a bit to also that story, and I know a lot of the stuff that we talk about.
Yeah, so we women get stuck in this loop of fear, blame, and shame. So what that is that we don't realize, but we're living in a fog, right? We're living with all these messages: be good, be kind, be skinny, be a super achiever, be the best cook, be the best mother. I mean, we are, whether we accept it or not, we're all trying to meet the standard of that some utopic Olympian amazing Amazon woman, right? We want to be it all, you know, for our men, for our children, for our partners, everybody. So we are really oppressed by the idea of that perfect person, and for that we totally divorce our authentic self. So I was on this mission without realizing to be that zenith of a woman, the perfect wife, the perfect mother, the PhD student. Had to be skinny, of course, and I was exhausting myself on this constant conveyor belt, this hamster wheel. And then one day my car just, I almost hit the tree. So I call it soul erosion. That was my wake up call. Like something is drastically off course. Like literally my car went off course because I was misaligned. And so many mothers get caught up in the identity of motherhood. When we become wives, we're identity of the wife. You know, these become our projects, our PhDs. Yeah. And but that's how we crucify ourselves. You know, we need to separate from our children and let them live out their own destiny. So we are so afraid to not be perfect. That's the fear. And we blame and shame ourselves constantly. We think that that's the way to take responsibility, but we don't realize that that's just self-castigation, you know? True accountability is to heal. Yes. Is to heal the identity that is mired in the false persona and the mask of the perfect person. That's the true healing. That's true accountability. But we just flog ourselves and we're like, I'm taking responsibility. No, you're not. You're just perpetuating the fear, blame, shame cycle.
Well,
it's like, is this idea that
you got, first of all, Radical Awakening from Dr. Shefali. We're talking about Radical Awakening.
I can't wait to read it.
You can get it. You can get it anywhere
wait.
Books are sold. Right. I saw it. I went into Barnes & Noble and I saw it next to mine. I thought that was really sweet.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
Oh no, I was just going to add to that. It's just like this idea that, you know, if we're not a martyr in the name of love, then we haven't loved enough. That's been a huge one for me.
Wow.
You know, to realize that that's a lie that I've been telling myself, and that's a side telling myself.
Yeah, we
cannot be martyrs.
Yeah, we have to be martyrs, victims. Yeah, we have to suffer. We have to give of ourselves to the point of abnegation.
Yeah,
you know, yeah, because that's the noble way to be the perfect mother and the perfect wife. Yeah. So to put ourselves first is an abomination. We literally we get nausea because our conditioning is don't take up space, don't put yourself first, give of yourself. And it really mind trips us, you know. We face so much conflict to just speak up where males can just speak up without a problem. We spend so much energy in the boardroom. Should I say something? When should I say something? I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. Oh my goodness, what will they think of me? You think males are going through this in their head? They just speak, you know? So look how much we have to go through just to come to the table because of our conditioning.
Right. And then when we dare to speak up and we do begin to find our power, we're called crazy. We're called wild. We're
dramatic.
All these dramatic or hormonal, or there she goes again, or you know, all these things. Like we were almost bullied back into that old box that we were in. And I feel like it takes so much bravery to stick with the journey.
I know.
Which is again why I'm so excited to read your book, because it is like we need that constant reminder. We need those creative juices pumping and coming in to kind of hold us there, hold us accountable, and help us stick to the journey.
Right. Once we realize that this is the way of the toxic patriarchy, we won't take it personally. See, we take everything personally. We're like, because we're fragile too. Yeah. But once you realize that this is the way of the unconscious, this is, they're going to dominate, they're going to be threatened. If you're wise enough to understand the game, then you're not going to let it infiltrate you and put you back down. You go, I feel compassion for you that you have to interrupt me all the time. I feel compassion for you that you don't want to see my power. I get it. I understand. You've never seen females in their power. I get it. And we can have compassion for the male who's not exposed, and we can train them. We have to train them. You see, we run away the minute they put us down. We're like, okay, I tried that. Bye. No,
Yeah.
we have to train them to get used to us talking, used to us being there. They just are not trained.
But you know what's interesting, Doctor, is I think what's also interesting about this, though, is the other side of it, as a man being here with you two awakened women, is that the reason that men do the things that they're doing is because of their lack of enoughness.
Exactly.
Because the patriarchy,
it's that
ironically, has the same effect on men as it does on women. So what ends up happening is the lack of enoughness of us needing to prove our worth as men in this power dominant system.
Yes.
Means that we must exercise power over anybody who is less powerful, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, women tend to be the people that men do that with, because men have a hard time doing it with other men. Because we're oftentimes, depending on who you are, there's always somebody who's going to be bigger, stronger, better, faster, with more money, a bigger house, a nicer car, a bigger dick, all of it, right? It all exists in the patriarchy. But when men feel less than, we find our power in the domination of someone else, and that tends to be women. And so it comes from a lack of enoughness, from that same thing that you talk about with women, and we're all suffering in the same way.
100%. And I tell you, this nuclear system that we're in, where the one male gets to come home because he feels insecure that, he wasn't as big as the guy at work or as powerful, and he comes home and dumps on the women and the children and the dogs. So when we lived in tribes, the men checked each other, and the females were together to check the men. So this is what we need to band together and understand, that the men are not evil. We raise them. They are sons. They are brothers. This is not about separation, right? Your message isn't about separation. Mine is not about, there's no battle of the sexes here. Yeah, it's about compassion, that our sons and our brothers, we need to turn their light bulbs on. But instead of complaining that the light bulbs are off, how are we going to rise up to go, hey, I'll train you? And even if it takes time, and I know it's not our burden, but we got to embrace the issue. We got to embrace the problem. We have to educate them. People of color have to speak up. It's tiring. Why do we need to speak up? We got to speak up, because the paradigm that dominates is unconscious. So we women don't need to waste time complaining or being scared. We need to band together in a sisterly, sororal community, and we need to check the men and teach them. We need to teach our sons. We need to teach our daughters. And that's where the real change happens.
So you're gonna, so Dr. Shafali, you're probably gonna get some pushback, because I know if I know a little bit about, in my, as I'm a, I would consider myself a baby feminist in training. I can tell you that I've encountered in feminist circles this idea also of a lot of women saying, well, it's not my responsibility. It's their job. I've been oppressed long enough. You go fix it. Right? And that is the energy that men are responding to, which is why men are forming their alt-right men's male, like, I'm a victim movement happening at the same time. Because they're responding to this energy, and they think that feminism hates men. Where I believe, I kind of prescribe to the bell hooks idea of feminism, which is this idea that no, true feminists love and want to invite men in. Because feminism is
so
right?
so compassionate. So compassionate.
Exactly. But so where do you, this idea of that you have to teach, and look, I'll be honest, save it not for the women, for my wife, man enough, my book doesn't exist. Me on my, enlightened journey, my awakening doesn't exist. So I do believe to a certain extent, and it's tricky to say, that I'm very lucky that I had women be willing to teach me and to take me on the journey. There's many men don't. And then there's the men that are, pushed away from the women. Oh, this is a women's movement. This is not about you. It's about me. So how do you respond to that?
It's the same thing. My friend, for a long time was a full-on lesbian, and then she decided to like a guy. I mean, she was killed, It's the same thing. We are repeating the paradigms of domination, separation, right? So now it's become men against women, or gay against straight, or it's the same idiocy that's occurring. It's the same illusion. And there is, I don't want to be called a feminist if I'm against men. I don't care about the title. It doesn't interest me. I don't, people ask me all the time, are you a feminist? Now the feminists will be upset with me because I don't want a title. I don't want a label. Call me anything. I'd rather be called a giraffe, or, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, call me, I don't want to have an identity. I'm here to help heal both souls, or whatever you want to call it, both essences to integrate. So I'm not interested in being this kind of a feminist or not a feminist. I'd rather just have compassion for unconsciousness. I see where the unconscious loops are, and that's all I care about. I don't even care about your body, your face, or your cars. It's the unconsciousness that we are trying to poke at and heal. So the unconsciousness can look whatever it likes. That's not the seduction. The real work is the unconsciousness. Why are we unconscious? What are we believing? Where are we coming from in terms of lack, scarcity, unworthiness, impoverishment? That is the foundation of all anger, right? Is impoverishment. So there is no separation. There is no man to hate.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
There's no man to hate. You're giving your power when you hate a man. That's exactly what we're teaching. Don't give your power. Hatred is power. So,
and we know it's a very small minority of feminists anyways that prescribe to that ideology.
Yeah.
But of course, that's all the men need. That's all the men need to use it against them, right? And that's
right.
We weaponize words, we politicize words, we weaponize and politicize labels, which is why I'm with you. Screw the labels. Let's heal people. Let's bring people together. Let's have conversations that are uncomfortable. You have one belief, I have another. Let's talk and share a meal and not hate each other and recognize and find our similarities versus our differences, right? We need so much more of that. And again, going back to what you said, but unless we do that true inner work, and you buy the book Radical Awakening and you go on that journey and you are an activist, a self-activist, you don't even know what you really stand for or believe in to be activist.
Because you won't know how to give and show compassion unless you're giving it to yourself. Like, it really does begin with self-compassion. Compassion towards the self and all the trauma that we've had and all the everything that we are. At least that's the only way that I've ever learned true compassion, is by first knowing what it is, what it feels like in me, and then to be able to give it to somebody else.
But you talk about self-compassion in the book.
Yeah. So the definition of compassion for me is just, self-compassion. And people often think compassion is for the other. Don't have compassion for the other, because that, if you bypassed, like Emily said, your own self-integration, self-acceptance, because once you accept yourself, you're going to accept others. So it comes from the inside. You don't have to work on this. You don't have to train yourself to have compassion for others. The only reason you don't have compassion for others is because you live with a severe inner critic. That's the only reason. And if you're attached to your ism, if it's your religion, your caste, your age, your class, if you're attached and that's your identity, immediately you've created separation. That's why the greatest plague are the isms, So I don't want an ism in my life, because that creates separation, So we have to really deconstruct how our belief systems have actually caused us to hate each other and create distance between each other, not oneness. Our mental.
So how do we do that, right? So how do we de-identify, as I say in my book, unlearn and undefine? What's that process?
So I call it a deconstruction, so I teach this all the time to people, which is a very, very provocative process of taking the belief and really understanding the conditioned brainwashing around it, and, the nature doesn't believe in anything, for example, right? Nature follows laws that govern the physics of the universe. The laws typically are, gravity, impermanence. You don't have to believe in gravity. You don't have to believe in impermanence. You're going to die. You're going to die. So it's not a belief system. It's the isness of nature. But humankind loves to create beliefs, and it's my belief and then your belief, and see, the wars in the world are based on ideological warfare. Ideology. That in the mind. So this is where the problem is. And so how do you do that? You have to be brave to look at what you were given in your childhood as the sanctified, holy way to be, and dare to say, who said? Is it true? Does the tree believe in what does the law of nature follow this belief system? And most likely it won't, because the law of nature is interdependent. It's based on very simple cause and effect. And there is no superior or inferior. You know, there's a hierarchy in nature. You know, the gazelle will be eaten by the lion, but there's an acceptance of that. You know, there's no resistance there. They all know what's coming, right? Oh shit, I'm going to die. And there's just a release. But for us, because we don't want to die, we're doing, you know, it's a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar business. Like, let's not grow old, let's not die.
Right.
So we're anti-nature, right? Everything is anti-nature because we have a morbid fear of being insignificant. Every one of us wants to be significant, you know? So as long as we're hungry for that, we're going to dominate.
It reminds me, Emily and I are both Baha'is, and in the Baha'i faith, one of the main tenets is the independent investigation of truth.
Right.
Meaning you don't take truth because you heard it from your pastor or your mother or your friend.
Right.
You must independently investigate. God's greatest gift to us were our faculties, our ability to comprehend, to know God, to understand and learn and know science, right?
And if you go into a Baha'i temple, because they have those in India,
the Lotus Temple,
you won't see much in there because they invite you to go within. It's just space, right? It's beautiful space, and
space.
There's no objects to latch onto. You're like, okay, who do I believe? What do I do? But no, there's nothing. It's space.
Yeah. Because it's one of the things that people don't get. You go in and you think you're going to see the Vatican with all this gold, and you actually go.
And you just see.
There's 9 entrances for open to all.
Yes.
And then it's like, oh, this is just a big room. You're like,
I love it. You know, because even Hinduism, even though it's an ism, is open. It's the analogy is open bowl, like nothing to hold on to. Of course, it's all become corrupted now. I mean, humans corrupt everything. But I went to a Baha'i temple when I was like maybe 5 or 6, and my mother told me, look, this is for you to enter your own inner space. It's a space for you to enter your own inner space. You know, because I was also thinking, where's the cross? Where's the rosary? Where's the gold? Where's the, you know, give me something. But there was nothing. And that's the beauty of Baha'i. And very few people know about Baha'i, you know. It's just inner spaciousness.
Yeah. Look, I think we could talk to you forever. You should probably end it before it turns into actual couples therapy.
No, you're going to come on my Instagram and we're going to deconstruct your book.
We'll do that next week. Emily and I are going to Sweden on Sunday, so we'll do it. I'll be in Sweden. It'll be like 9 o'clock at night or something. And
I love it. And Emily, when you read the book, let's have a girl chat on my Instagram.
Please, I would love that. He tried to find this book. He's like, where's the book? Where's the book? It was already in my backpack.
I couldn't. So part of why I was late. Part of why I was late.
You were looking.
The book. And I'm like, where's the book? And she packed it.
I'm so excited.
So Emily, you and I have a date, and Justin and I have a date. So thank you for sharing my book.
So again, I'm just gonna open this up real quick and turn these back on because I know people have been commenting. But please pick this up, Radical Awakening. It was written by Dr. Shefali for women, but I want to encourage the few guys that are hanging out on this right now to read it, because in the same way that so many women are reading my book to understand men, I believe as men we should be reading this book to understand women, because I think the greatest barrier between us is our lack of understanding for each other. And our lack of compassion for each other.
Yes.
And I think that ends the argument of who's more tired and who worked harder and who did this and all of the stuff that we get stuck in as couples. If we just were able to understand each other, we would just be building bridges instead of walls in our relationships. So thank you for writing this book, and also for your previous books that help us all be better parents.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to have shared this time. Thank you, guys.
All right. And hey, nourish your soul, rest yourself, because I know how hard it is. You're in the middle of it right now. I know you're pushing the book out. So
book launches are intense.
Sending you love and some healing and some rest for yourself.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.